Hi, this is Mark Ray, and welcome to episode 2 of Northern Sulphuric Soulboy, a personal account of my adventures in the music industry. In this episode, I leave school and home and flirt with a real job. I start collecting records and have a nasty run-in with some thieves. Thomas Dolby, Japan, The Smiths, and the end of the Jam ushered in the pubic era.
Switch off the mind and let the heart decide who you are meant to be.
In my registration class at school, I was lucky enough to sit next to the daughter of the overseas producer of The Tube, Channel 4's legendary Newcastle-based live music show. Friday nights we would head down to the quayside to be part of the audience, still dressed in our school uniforms, our pockets full of half-eaten tuck shop conquests. Highlights included Salt and Pepper performing My Mic Sounds Nice.
Yo, Herb, take it from the top. 1, 2. My mic sound nice, check 1. My mic sound nice, check 2. My mic sound nice, check 3. Are you ready?
The hip-hop duo must have been all of 15 years old at the time, and the crowd, in their ripped 501s and rockabilly haircuts, looked on in palpable disinterest. Morrissey threw the contents of someone's flower bed around whilst performing Still Ill, and Madness called the crowd back in at the end of the set to do It Must Be Love off camera. A handsome touch. By the time I had moved out of home at 18, it was 1986, and I was working at Sterling Winthrop, testing painkillers and female hormone pills in the laboratory. It would turn out to be the only official 9-to-5 job I've ever had. Working with 50-year-old chain-smoking Geordie grannies had some charm. It was the 9 hours continuous compulsory chemistry lessons on a Monday that truly did me in. At night, I was returning to a flat in Jesmond that had no central heating and a hole in the wall so big that it allowed me to have conversations with the postman from my bed every morning. "You all right?" "Aye. See you tomorrow." I slept in my work clothes for a year and boiled a pan on the stove to make a bath. Charles Dickens took notes from above. "Please, sir, can I have less lessons and more music in my life?" Then the opportunity to earn £500 a week on top of my salary was grabbed with both hands as I threw myself into one of the many drug testing programs the company was running.
"Okay, relax. I'm only going to take 2 pints of blood this time."
At one point I was sure I was developing breasts, but I eventually worked it out. It was the easy access to chocolate my flatmate had been stealing from a local garage. The extra money would come in handy, however, as the era of record collecting had begun.
Get down to the funky beat.
I had started buying records in earnest and spent most weekends at the Riverside, a cavernous club that was championing the alternative scene of the time. My tastes had changed though. Having witnessed Mantronic's Trouble Funk, Cameo and Womack on the Tube, I was planting the seeds of an obsession with black dance music that would only get more serious with time. I bought everything on the Beverly Glen label, Anita Baker's first album, Bobby Womack's The Poet, and Johnny Taylor. A video compilation of Cameo was rarely off the TV, red codpiece and all. Alan Clark, the resident DJ at the Riverside, introduced me to Eric B. and Rakim, and of course, Public Enemy.
Yo, Chuck, what's the move, man? I was on my way up here to the studio, you know what I'm saying? And this brother stopped me and asked me, yo, what's up with that brother Chucky D? He sway nice. I said, yo, the brother don't sway nice, he knows he's nice, you know what I'm saying? So Chuck, I got a feeling you turning into a public enemy, man.
I ain't no joke, I used to let the mic smoke.
But as my pile of vinyl grew to over a yard thick, I realised I needed a decent record player. One night, after a stint at the College of Arts and Technology, I purchased my first record deck. I tucked it under my virtually blood-free drug-testing arm and hugged it home from town on the Metro, Newcastle's miniature underground. It was a sizable box, and I struggled to keep it in place over the half-hour journey. The walk from the station to my front door was only a few hundred yards, but as I strode out, it seemed I was being followed. How long I'd been shadowed, I don't know. It could have been from outside the shop in town, or from right outside my local station. Regardless, as soon as I turned to enter the path to my flat, I heard a sudden patter of feet, which stuttered dead as I reached my door and fumbled for my keys. I turned to investigate the noise and was promptly clocked full square between the eyes by a nicotine-stained fist, my glasses splitting on impact and flying into separate parts of the concrete front garden. There followed a strange moment of silence as I stood facing my unannounced sparring partner and his posse of pint-sized thieves. I punched him hard in the face, and then a few times more, until we ended up in the middle of the road. The traffic stopped either side of us. Meanwhile, his accomplices were running off with the deck, back towards the station. There was blood all over the face of the main protagonist. In the heat of the moment, I had been punching him with my keys, and amongst the bunch I had kept a mini blade, which I used in the lab to open thin-layered chromatography plates. Unfortunately for him, it snapped off in his face. With him taken care of, I chased the younger members of the gang down the centre of the street, and they dropped the deck. I picked it up and walked back to the flat, passing the main robber as I did. He shouted, "Come on then," as blood dripped down his cheek and off his chin, but I was unable to oblige in delivering any more rabbit-caught-in-the-headlights pugilism. Instead, I popped up the path, promptly shut the door on him, and had a bloody good listen to a Cameo 12-inch. It wouldn't be the last time I would be making the enforced connection between music and violence.
Attack me with your love, baby.
At the same time, my tardiness at the day release college had been noticed, and one day I was called into the chief chemist's office at work. He was a tall, imposing man with a physically rather than emotionally wandering eye. He accused me of swinging the lead, which I had to look up. Having done so, I saw his point. My time was up, and a bigger city was calling. I applied to do a combined studies degree at Manchester Polytechnic. The summer before I left Newcastle, I did my first club night, and 6 people showed up. I knew them all very well. They sniffed poppers and got thrown out. Adding to the woe, the worry of impressing them made me drink several pints of beer so that when I returned home, I watered the bed in the night, my teenage bladder not quite ready for the rigours of adult drinking. The night itself was called Justice and was promoted with posters around the pubs and record shops of town. The tagline was "Good to Go," mirroring the Trouble Funk song of the same name.
Say what? Live. Good to go. Everybody over here, let me hear you now. Raw. Good to go. We like to see you get down. Non-stop. Good to go.
A rival promoter took to writing "Home" at the end of the tagline. I consoled myself by buying a Fila tracksuit, the Bjorn Borg edition, with a pink stripe. I matched this with a red Kangol hat and a ludicrous fake gold chain, at least an inch thick. In hindsight, it was the first time my fashion sense was ahead of the curve. It was, of course, deeply ridiculous. You've been listening to Northern Sulphuric Soulboy, Episode 2. The book and album is now available in physical form at Mark Ray Bandcamp and at the Tate in London. Part 3 coming soon. Manchester awaits.